Hello, Internet. I am joined by Nick Greenizan. Greenizan? Fuck.
Screwed that up.
I've only known you for, 20 years?
Something like that.
Yeah, we went to journalism school back in the Hizay together, and I couldn't say his name properly back then, and I still can't.
Good to be consistent.
Hey, there you go. I am nothing if I am not consistent. So, I guess we should talk about the breaking news that just happened this morning. Chris Evans accidentally showed his penis to the world on his Instagram feed.
I didn't know about this until, 20 seconds ago?
Yeah,
and
I was like,
I'm not going to lie, I could have done without that information, but here we are.
Hey, I tried to Google a picture, but I couldn't find it, so at least you're saved that.
Thank you.
And,
I don't understand how you accidentally do that. Like, what
so
are you doing in your life?
You know how you have your camera roll on your phone and it has like all your photos? He put a screenshot of that up, and one of those photos had his Peter on it. And
all right, well, I mean, that could happen that happens to anybody, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're just like general all photos together. You forgot to not include the dick folder, I guess. One weird thing, though, was people were like, is that really his penis? I don't think it's his penis. And then someone was like, some people say it's his brother's. And I was like,
that would be even stranger.
That is so beyond wrong. Like, my brother listens to this podcast, and I'll tell you right now, I do not want to see a picture of his dick or have a picture of his dick in my phone saved.
Yeah, if you happen to see one, you wouldn't save it, I don't think. I think that would be going right to the trash.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nothing that, I can't even imagine. Because it was funny, because it was like, everybody was like, I saw something today, and I was like, what? And it was like some of the people on Twitter, and then I was like, did I miss something important? And then that's what it was. And
so you did miss something important.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, I don't know, like, it's funny more than anything. Like,
oh, it's hilarious.
Like, he totally one-upped the unsolicited dick pic game by sending it to the entire internet.
Yeah, himself on his own page. It's not, it didn't get leaked. I mean, it did, but he did it, so.
Yeah, that's the best part. Was he can't even be like, my phone got hacked. He'll be like, sorry. The best part is it's like, hey, sorry I sent you my dick, but what'd you think?
I mean, when you've already done it, you might as well see what people think. I mean, you can't take it back.
Yeah. Exactly.
Why not get some Yelp reviews on it while you're out there, while you're at it?
Yeah. Is Yelp even a thing anymore?
I think so. I don't know what it did. I think it's out there.
Yeah, I think it was more of a thing in the States the whole time anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to address last week and the week before on the podcast, there was like a chunk where my voice got really quiet, and I know you all really enjoyed it, but it makes the whole podcast look unprofessional. So I got these new dope Super Gamer headphones that are quite a bit larger than the last ones. So hopefully that'll fix the problem. If not, I'll have an excuse to buy a new laptop.
And I would just like to point out, I got these out of an old cell phone box, and they're equally as nice.
They are. They aren't cartoonishly big with a yellow stripe, though.
That's true.
I was like, the funny thing is, because it's like now when you buy headphones, you can't return them. So once the box is opened, it's like they're yours. So it's like, you don't know what they look like. You could guess from the picture on the box, but you're like, fuck, I hope these are good. I hope they're comfortable. Yeah. And the last ones I bought, I opened them and I put them on. I was like, these aren't even that comfortable. And then, so when they were quiet or whatever, it's like, this is an excuse to get new headphones. And then these ones, I was like, they have a picture on the box, and you're like, those look pretty sweet. They're black. They won't be noticeable. But nowhere on the box does it say these are ridiculously large. Have fun.
Yeah, they don't. It looks all right. You got a big head, so it balances out.
Yeah, it makes my head. I can't even imagine if I had like a regular size head. These would be like from here to here. They would just be huge.
You'd be wearing them as a hat.
Yeah. Okay, so Nick Greenizan. Did I say it right that time?
Close enough. We'll go with it. That's what everybody else calls me. So
you're joining us from Boomer Paradise, which is White Rock.
Langley, which is still Boomer Paradise.
I thought you lived in White Rock.
No, that's just where I work.
Oh, yeah. That's so funny because for like how long have you lived in Langley? Since you graduated, pretty much?
Well, I went 10 months or so, 9 months in Alberta, and I came back. Got the hell out of there because it was too cold.
Hey, yeah, no doubt. Like, it's funny because it's like you think about winter and everybody's like, oh, Canada's so cold. And you want to be like, no, it's not. It's normal. But it's like everywhere except for Vancouver is stupid cold. Yeah, for at least a couple months in the winter.
Yeah, no, it was only 9 months, and it was a long time ago, but I can still, like, that feeling you get when you walk outside and it's minus 40 and you get, like, it feels like your nose is bleeding. I still remember that exact feeling when everything just freezes instantly, and I'm not a fan. I will never work again in Northern Alberta, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I'm still not sick of the rain because I lived in Calgary for, I think, 3 or 4 years. And I still love the rain. Whenever it's like, because you know how it'll rain every day, not all day, but it'll rain every day for like 20 days straight, and everybody will get like seasonal affective disorder and be super butthurt. And I'm like, at least it's not cold.
Yeah, that's true.
Like it gets to minus 12 here, and you're like, ooh, this is cold. It's a wet cold. It's so bad.
When I was in Alberta, it only rained 2 days the entire time. Yeah. The day I moved in, the day I had to unpack and move into my apartment, and then the day I left, and also had to unpack and move stuff into a truck and all that shit. So, yeah, that was perfect timing.
That's the old Alberta. How do you do? It's like it never rains here unless you have to do something where you don't want it to rain.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, you're a reporter, like I said in the title. Do you do mostly sports, or do you do everything?
Well, I did until sports kind of stopped back in April, and I still have to do sports because there's still some things to write about. I managed to make it through, but there's also fewer of us, and we all work a little bit less these days. So it's you do everything now. Get to write about I don't know, dogs that get adopted and move to London. I did that last week. That was fun.
Oh, they get adopted from here and move to London?
Yeah, it was the SPCA did a thing where it's like, oh, look at our former rescue dog. Now it's, at Buckingham Palace or some shit.
Now it's eating biscuits with the Queen.
Pretty much.
This dog gets spotted dick more than you do. Thanks, Chris Evans.
Jesus, good callback.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good for up to 10 minutes for my callbacks, and then it's just
after that,
like vapor. Yeah. So the reason I wanted to bring up that you're a sports reporter, I can't even say reporter right anymore. The first thing I want to talk to you about is the NFL coming back. It had its first game on Thursday. Was KC versus Houston?
Houston, yeah.
See, and the only reason I know that is because out of boredom, I joined 2 fantasy football leagues. So that's the only reason I know anybody was playing. And then because I left one of the guys who was playing on the bench and he got a whole bunch of points. So
nice.
My fantasy football has started like all my other fantasy sports.
I'm only in 1 league, and all my guys are already hurt, and they haven't even played yet.
Oh, man. Yeah, one of the leagues I was in, I had 2 picks left in the draft. I was like, whatever, the computer could just auto-pick. And I come back, and it picked some guy who's like, I'm not playing this year because of COVID. And I was like, thanks, computer.
Yeah, I know.
So the reason I'm bringing this up is it's not like all the other sports have started up again, but it's the only sport I know of in North America, I'm going to say, because I'm not sure about sports in other countries, that has live fans. And the one game had 17,000 fans, and they looked like they were in clusters, which I hope was managed specifically to stop the spread of coronavirus.
Was spread out, but
yeah. Honestly, I think it looks worse than an empty stands.
It was right at the end of the game. One of the announcers said, "It looks like when you take the camera and put it on the stands, it looks like the kind of game where the home team is down by 45 and there's 2 minutes left, so everybody goes home early.
Yeah.
And that's what the game looks like. Apparently, I think they're not going to have fans at every game. I think they're just going to have it in it depends on the state you're in and what their rules are. I think there's only a few that are allowed some fans, but it doesn't. I mean, at least those fans get to go get their money's worth if they paid for tickets before this all happened. But it's not great. I have friends that have tickets. They don't live in Las Vegas, but they go there a lot. They have season tickets to the Raiders. They finally got them this year, and they can't go to any of the games, and they can't get their money back either. They're like, we'll call you paid up for 2021. How about that? It's like, I'd rather have my $8,000, but.
Yeah, that's all the season. That's it. I guess there's only 16 games.
Only 8 games at home. It might not even be 8. I have no idea what they might have made it up. But yeah, either way, they're out all that money, and I mean they're going to get their money's worth next year. But
is this the first season the Raiders are there?
Yeah, they were
in Vegas.
Yeah, they got this brand new $1 billion stadium, and they can't. Nobody can go in it.
Oh, hey, they'll keep it nice for next year, like they said.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, because they said 17,000 fans in, I think I heard somewhere that was like 86,000 stadium, but I'm not sure.
I think it's like 20% or 15, whatever I don't know the math, but it's not a lot of people that can be there, that's for sure. And it doesn't look that great.
You got to think, like, if you had season tickets to that stadium, how much are those tickets worth? Like, there's got to be people that are so horned up for football right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no
especially
kidding.
In the States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you could sell those things online or out in the parking lot for a fortune, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. The worst part was they had a moment of silence for the Black Lives Matter movement and all that stuff, and the fans started booing. So you're like, oh yeah, this is exactly the type of people who pay a lot of money to go play football. A
great start to the football season, and I can't say I'm that surprised. I was watching the game when it happened. But I had the TV muted because I didn't want to hear the pregame stuff. I was doing something on the computer that I needed sound for. Yeah. So I didn't catch it at first. I just heard them talking about it later. So I went back and it's pretty ridiculous, but what are you going to do?
Did it sound like a lot? Like, cause I tweeted
you could hear it, like
it wasn't. I don't want to say it was like all the fans.
I'm sure it wasn't. I'd like to think it wasn't 17,000. It wasn't 2. I'm sure it was more than that, but I like the apologists came out afterwards, and because you can also, I didn't hear this part, but apparently at one point in that silent minute or whatever, you can hear somebody yell Trump 2020, and then they were just booing that guy. It's like, no, like 17,000 people did not hear one guy and then decide to boo him by just him. No, that was whoever it was, that was them trying to save face.
Yeah, and plus like. It's so weird just people like openly being against the sitting president. Like I get like you don't agree with it and stuff, but it's like he's like a bad guy and people are all against us. It's like that's kind of still your president, and it's like I don't know. Like I guess he took all the respect out of the position himself.
Oh yeah, no, I don't have a problem with people ragging on or hating his guts. I mean he sucks for any number of reasons. We'd have to have a 10-hour podcast to get into, but at least But I'm always amazed, like, even of the people that want it, however many people booed, say it's 100, say it's 1,000, whatever the number is, you're just openly telling 16,000 other people, I'm a racist. Like, it takes a special kind of idiot to publicly, in this year of all the years, publicly, like, boo equality in public on TV. Like,
yeah, exactly.
That takes some balls.
And it's funny because it's like up here in Canada, like, we've had, like, we're not where we should be yet with the police, but we have a lot more progressive program with our police. Like they all get like multicultural training and all this like sensitivity stuff compared to the States. So up here, we're kind of like, you don't figure like anytime, and up here, it's like anytime you meet a rare racist in the field, they're always like, want to hear a joke? And then they look around and then they're like, wait, are you making a joke or are you actually racist? Like, it's almost a surprise to meet an actual racist. So like you said, like someone just booing and being like,
these are hey. Yeah, real racists out in the wild. Like, I've met a few of them too, but I mean, as a general rule, if you have to like side-eye each direction before you say something, you probably, that's a bad sign that what you're saying is, it's probably not good. If you have to look around first before you're going to say a joke or scream something at a football game. Maybe just keep that to yourself.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, like, and like, and then you could get into the whole, like, maybe they're not racist. It's a whole political thing, like, because somehow the states turn everything into like a bipolar thing where it's like, well, the Black Lives Matter movement is for the Democrats and being pro-police is for the Republicans. And you're like, that still doesn't make any sense. No. So you got to like.
There probably is some nuance there. And if, people can be against parts of it and that they might be justified. I don't know enough about it, but I'm just going to throw it out. I'm going to go on a limb and suggest that the guy yelling from like the 300 level at a Chiefs game has not thought this through to that level.
Yeah.
I'm gonna assume that's he's not doing the research. I mean, I'm generalizing, but it's probably true.
Yeah, he needs some sensitivity training. Okay.
Wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, all this talk about Trump, I do want to bring up one thing that I am pro-Trump for. Well, actually, it's kind of an attachment to another thing that I was pro-Trump for, because we talked about the Space Force on this podcast because I fucking love space. So I don't care who's talking about we're going to put people in space. I'm all for it. So when Trump announced the Space Force, I was like, yes, I don't care. Get people in space. Let's get some science fiction fucking spaceships.
Put them up there.
Yeah, let's get like Robotech machines that turn into robots and then into like fighter jets. Probably not, but I'm okay. I'm still a fan of it. And recently on Wednesday, he signed an executive order, which you already know is probably going to be something crazy because all of his executive orders are just bonkers.
Yeah, say no more.
And his executive order, paraphrased and dumbed down, it says that if the U.S. wants to, they don't have to take criticism from other countries for when they go to mine the moon, Mars, or other celestial bodies.
It's good to get out in front and be the first person to lay claim to those planets before somebody else does, right? Like you want to plant your flag and make sure that if there's gold on Jupiter, you can be the first one to get there.
I mean, like it's funny because you're like, it's almost like, I don't think the states would, if they were ever to be like, we're going to mine the moon, and people would be like, no, you're not. And they'd be like, yeah, we are. It's funny that they had to make an executive order saying that they're not going to listen.
Yeah, you have to. It's nice to be the first, but you got to keep your options open. And
yeah,
the whole idea of going to the moon to like, if you want to go back to the moon for whatever sciencey reason, they've done that before, obviously.
To look for Transformers.
Yeah, or to do whatever you got to do. I mean, I don't know what they do up there. I mean, I know they play golf. And whatever, but I just like the idea. Like after it took how long since they've been in? Like, was it like 50 years ago? Like it just occurred to them recently. I wonder what's up there. We could dig some holes and see what's up.
Yeah, they're like, oh wait, something valuable. Okay, I have a serious science question that is right in your wheelhouse because you're a sports guy. If I hit a golf ball on the moon, I just thought of this right when you brought it up. Will my slice be better or worse? Because there'd be less gravity, so it'd go further, so you think the slice would be activated more. But there's no wind, so would it catch the turn as much?
Do you think it just keeps going and it comes back around till it's straight?
Well, I was thinking because when you slice it, the ball spins and kind of catches the wind.
Yeah.
And since there's less dense of air up there, I thought maybe the spinning wouldn't affect the trajectory as much because it wouldn't have air to catch. That sounds good to me. I don't know anything about science, but I mean, if anything can improve my slice, I'll take it too because I'm terrible. Oh yeah, dude. Just go you're like, I was always good at golf. I just had to be on the moon when I did it because I could
totally reasonable excuse.
Yeah. Okay, so back to mining this stuff. If I was a guy and I was a miner, I would be super pumped because it's a free trip to space. It's it's Armageddon all over again.
Yeah, I was just gonna say they're just gonna make a sequel, and Bruce Willis is gonna go up into space. He's gonna kick some rocks around and bring back whatever's up there.
I mean, if you could mine either the moon or Mars or an asteroid, which one would you want to mine? I
don't know. It's just a bunch of rocks. I don't know what's up there. I would probably steer clear of Mars because I've seen too many, disaster type movies, and it seems like the worst place to go.
like I'd almost want to moon and or I keep saying mixing up moon and mine. I'd almost want to mine an asteroid because if I fucked up, it wouldn't like ruin the Earth. Because remember that movie, The Time Machine? I think that's what it was. The modern one that they made. I think it came out when we were in college. But one of the plot lines, it was based on the H.G. Wells book. But one of the plot lines was in the future. Russia was colonizing the moon, and they were drilling into it to make what they were doing was they're digging tunnels for people to live in, and they basically hit like a load-bearing beam and just like split the moon in half.
Of course.
So if I was mining on the moon and I would just have that in my head, I'd be like, don't fucking split the moon in half. Don't split the moon in half. Or worst case
the element
scenario,
of risk is higher.
Yeah. And it's like
importance.
The whole moon just kind of floating in Earth's orbit, not in Earth's orbit, kind of affecting the tides and stuff. I really wouldn't want to like fuck with anything.
That's true. I didn't think about the tides. You'd be you'd be in some trouble. I'd steer clear of mining the moon, but I mean, so they're going to do it apparently. So
yeah, and going to Mars, that's like what, like fuck, such like years and years of sleep in a spaceship just to get there and be all dusty. And whereas like an asteroid, you can just fucking go to town as long as you're like far enough away. Just like accidentally explode it, and if you make it out fine, it's like nobody's gonna know.
It's like, and if they waited until there was an asteroid that was coming for Earth, if you break it into 50 pieces, then you're also a hero. So you can't lose.
Yeah, like being a klutz and a hero at the same time. Yeah. Like that's solid goal. That's a good movie plot right there. They should make that where it's Armageddon 2, but they're not going up there. It's like the same cast, and they're all old. Well, except for Michael Clark Duncan, R.I.P. He can't make it, but they get everybody else like Steve Buscemi, Ben Affleck, Bruce Willis, like you said, and they're like, okay, you guys are the only people who have experience drilling in space, so you're going back to drill in space. And then they go, but this time they're going to not split an asteroid in half, but to just make a bunch of money. And then it's just a comedy, and there's like no touchy-feely parts, and
it seems reasonable. I'm stealing this from somebody else who mentioned it to me once, or maybe I heard it somewhere, but it is the most ridiculous thing. That movie, when that movie came out, it's like, all right, we the plot of the movie is they trained a bunch of drilling guys to be astronauts and send them on their way and whatever. Wouldn't it have been a hell of a lot easier to train astronauts to be drilling guys rather than the other way around? I mean, they're already geniuses, and like, I mean, it wouldn't have made for as good of a movie. I don't think Steve Buscemi would have really been as believable as a guy with 3 master's degrees in science, or whatever, like, or astrology. I don't know, whatever astronauts have. But
the funny thing about that is, I think Ben Affleck brought that up on set. He's like, "Why are we even doing this? This is so dumb." And then
oh, that's where I heard it. It was. I think it's in the comments of the. I think it's in the director in the commentary on the DVD. Yeah, that's where it is.
And then Michael Bay was like, because then we wouldn't have a fucking movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, plot lines are only like substructure to hold together the action sequences, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have to make. It wouldn't be the first movie that didn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know, it's a movie. As long as it's entertaining. Like, as long as it doesn't go, like, too stupid, like Sharknado, it's good.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a documentary, I guess.
Yeah, it's not like a movie like Inception, or where they're like, this movie is so smart, you won't be able to follow it. And then you watch it, and you're like, I guess that was kind of smart. Yeah. And then it's like, it's just so much the other way, where it's like, they, like, think it's, like, the smartest thing that ever happened, and you're like, it's just a dream in a dream, I get it. What's so hard to get?
Yeah.
Yeah. What else? I felt like there's more I was going to say about. Oh, yeah. So this whole thing about Trump making this executive order, I do think it is not all ridiculous and just me wanting people to go to space. But I think actually saying you're going to go mine asteroids is a very smart thing to do, because if the states aren't going to do it, China's going to do it. And the one thing China doesn't have is metal. So if we're going full, let's be paranoid about the impending Third World War, which would basically be China versus the States, and everybody else picks a side. The one thing that'll hold China back is they don't have the like iron ore resources and stuff to actually build a war machine. So if they just go fucking
get it all from the moon.
Yeah, they go flag down an asteroid that has like 2,000 tons of iron, then they could just make all the steel they want.
Yeah, maybe they hire Bruce Willis before Trump does.
Exactly. You see Bruce Willis like getting on a plane, putting on like a red jacket. They're like, where are you going, Bruce? He's like, oh, nowhere. I'm going on a consulting trip.
Yes. Going to shoot some commercials that only appear in Japan.
Oh, okay. I just thought of a better plot for Armageddon 2. So this is just what you said. Bruce Willis wants to go into space to mine the asteroids, but the States won't let him because he's too old and he's over the hill, and they have these new young hotshot, like you said before, like the super smart astronauts are like, we sent up the drillers last time, it almost didn't work. This time we're sending up like the astronauts and training them how to drill, and then Bruce Willis goes to China because he wants to go. So it's like the old team versus the new team dynamic, and then they have like the rich people versus the dumb people, like the like super smart nerdy guys versus the like jock
Bruce Willis and his friends.
Next, yeah, that's a good plot. But
get Michael Bay on the phone right now. Let's go.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. I wonder if Michael Bay would take my call right now. I'd be like, hey, Michael Bay, I have an idea for 1,000 movies. Here they are.
I bet you he doesn't get that. And I'm, people in Hollywood in general.
Yeah.
I'm sure they love it. Unsolicited ideas and advice.
Yeah.
The best.
They're like, so basically the plot of all your movies is movies we've already done, but with new attractive actors and more science fiction added in for no reason, but just have special effects. I'm like, yeah, that's the gist of it.
It seems fine.
Yeah. My big thing would be, okay, let's take every Arnold Schwarzenegger movie and make a new updated version with The Rock, and just like the same plot, the same story, just new effects and The Rock.
It'd be all right. I mean, it's bound to happen at some point. If not with The Rock, then whoever The Rock's replacement is going to be in 10 years or whatever.
Yeah, like they made Total Recall with Colin Farrell, who's a hunk, and I did like the movie, but it's not the same without like the lumbering presence.
You need
of
like
Arnold
a legit
Schwarzenegger.
action star guy, not Colin Farrell. I mean, he's fine, but come on.
Yeah, he's not fucking ripping anybody in half like it looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger can.
That's why The Rock is in about 7 movies a year, it seems like, because he's like the only, like, if you want to make like a big dumb action movie, he's like he's on everybody's speed dial, and he rules, so good for him.
Yeah,
he should be on everybody's speed dial. He's the best. But
yeah, he's like a nice guy. He's super hardworking. He's super positive on the set. So everybody's like, well, why wouldn't we have The Rock? He's a hunk. He's super ripped, and he's super easy to work with. Let's go. And it's like, who are your other guys? Like all the other like action stars have all aged out, and they don't really have replacements.
Yeah, they just have to be in the Expendable sequels now.
Yeah.
That's all they're good. That's all they can do, apparently.
Mm-hmm. Like I was gonna say, you can have action movies with Jason Statham, but he's already crossed over to the Expendables too, or Expendables as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many Expendable movies are there. Like 8?
I don't know. I've seen 2 of them. I think. Maybe I've seen the first one for sure. I think I've seen 2. There's probably like 4, but you could tell me there was 9, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that's like the Fast and the Furious. I think there is 9 Fast and the Furious, and it's like everybody's like, "Oh, those movies are so dumb." It's like, yeah, that's why they keep making them.
Exactly.
You got Cars, Vin Diesel, The Rock.
Did you hear about the new? Just to tie it all together, they're gonna the next Fast and the Furious. They're like, oh, we're gonna go to space.
What?
Yeah, it was like a couple days ago. I read that they're actually I don't know how they're gonna make that plot work, but apparently they're going to space. I
have never been on board as much as I am right now. If they go, for some reason, they have some weird plot point where they have to go to the moon and they fucking race muscle cars on the moon, and then they do super jumps because there's lower gravity, and then
all of those things are going to happen for sure. But no, they're apparently going to space.
Oh man! And then one thing that could happen is like Vin Diesel and whoever else, they're like racing through to like, I don't know, whatever, get like some special sciencey like piece of machinery or something, and that's the reason they're doing it. And then they hit a jump, but they bump, and then the one guy's car kind of goes high enough to get out of the orbit of the moon, so they like
just out there forever, gone.
Yeah, they have to do the human chain from one car to the other, and then they grab each other's hands, and it's all like slow-mo, and there's explosions, even though there wouldn't be in space because there's no air, and then they pull them in, and then they become best friends.
I like it. I think you've come up with two fully complete movie pitches.
I should be a movie consultant.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure Michael Bay and whoever does the Fast and the Furious movies and all those action guys are probably listening and watching this right now.
Yeah.
So you should really, they're going to steal your ideas. You should probably talk to a lawyer pretty fast.
As long as the movie gets made and I get to watch it, I'm fine. You don't even have to pay me. Because if you left me in charge of a movie entirely, it would end up like that time Homer made that car. That would be the movie, and it would not be as good for everybody else as it was for me.
No, the bubble domes, great. That's a great car. They should have made it.
They should have made like one or two, just so like it could be. Oh my god, put fucking Homer Simpson's bubble car in the Fast and the Furious. Because they need the bubbles because they're in space. Oh my god. It writes itself.
It really does.
Oh my god. Could you imagine a 3D realistic rendered Homer Simpson in the Fast and the Furious movies?
No, I cannot. Have you seen those 3D renderings or those drawings that people have done of like what they would look like, or what he would look like if he was, or what the characters would look like if they were real people?
Yeah, and they're always terrifying.
It's horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying. Like the Mr. Burns one. Ugh.
Yeah.
Wasn't
there an episode of The Simpsons where they ran into themselves in real life?
I think there probably is. I haven't seen lots of the newer ones, but there's one where there's like a 3D animated Homer, but that's like 20 years.
Maybe
ago.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it goes through a vortex or something.
Yeah, I was thinking like Bart
totally normal stuff.
Yeah, Bart went into VR or something and then saw Homer, but it was probably the 3D version. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, or they go into space to race their cars, and they end up finding this random planet that they didn't know exists, and it's the Simpsons planet.
That's the sequel.
Sequel to The Simpsons and Fast and the Furious. There you go.
It's like those tie-ins when they used to do like the Flintstones meet the Jetsons on TV back in the day. Just The Simpsons meets Fast and the Furious. We're just coming up with all kinds of movies.
I know. We should have as much money as producers in Hollywood.
Well, we're just as smart. Look at all the ideas we came up with without even trying.
Yeah.
Instead of just remaking old movies.
Yeah. How about you don't remake? What was the last one they're going to remake? I just saw. They're going to remake She's All That with some TikTok girl.
I saw that.
How about instead of doing that, you get old Dale and Nick here to come up with an idea where you're in space for no reason.
Yeah.
I mean, you're already trying it with Fast and Furious.
They seem to be remaking movies that are like, if you're gonna remake a movie, make it old enough that it's worth it. Like, they remade so many movies. They're like, that movie's 3 years old. Like, it doesn't need a reboot. I still have it. It's not even out on video on demand yet. It doesn't need a reboot before that.
Yeah, exactly. Like Spider-Man, how they keep rebooting it, and you're like, what? How is there 3 different Spider-Mans in 10 years? Like, could you not just get the same guy? Another remake. Did you see the Golden Girls thing?
No.
They were making an African-American Golden Girls with the mom from Blackish. I think it was weird because they said, I didn't understand fully because they said it was a Zoom-only event, so I don't know if they meant they were doing it live as a theater show and you could watch it over Zoom, or what was going on. And it was like, because they did the same thing with All in the Family with Woody Harrelson and I can't remember who played Edith Bunker. Is it Edith or Judith?
I don't know.
Speaking of racist.
Yeah.
I can't do all this research for all these random tangents I'm going to go on. But yeah, they did that there where they made a couple episodes with Woody Harrelson as Archie Bunker.
Wow, I never heard of that. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things that just went under the radar because they're like, we're going to do this. And people are like, yeah, we're desperate for entertainment, but.
Yeah, the last 6 months, you put because they can't film regular stuff. You put anything on Zoom and people will watch it or online in some form.
Yeah, plus a character like Archie Bunker is not who you want out in the world right now with all the racial tension that's going on.
No. I mean, he might have been at that Chiefs game.
Maybe it was him.
It might have been.
Extreme Trump 2020. That would actually kind of be funny if it was Woody Harrelson in the character of Archie Bunker just going around being a dickhead. But that's not good for Woody Harrelson's brand either. Yeah, no, because he's kind of like a nice guy in real life, isn't he?
He seems pretty cool. I don't know much about him other than from what I I've seen his movies and his I know him from Cheers, but he seems all right. He doesn't seem problematic like so many other people have become over the last however many years.
Yeah, I know he's a big weed guy, but now that that's legal, that doesn't automatically make him left wing anymore.
No, it just makes him regular.
Yeah, it just makes him a guy who smokes weed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was like super. I remember that. That was like super controversial back when he's like when he became the weed guy. Like, was that 20 years ago maybe or whatever it was?
I think it was about the time Natural Born Killers was out.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, by the way, I smoke weed. And back then it was like scandalous.
Yeah.
And people were
like he's like, I'm wearing a suit made out of hemp. And it.
Yeah. And everybody's like, that's going to ruin your career. And whereas now it's like people are making careers based off on how much weed they smoke.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he did this thing where he was like, I'm going to plant these 2 weed seeds. And then he went to jail for that. And now you're like, bro, you should have just waited.
Yeah, exactly.
You could go onto like any store corner and just buy weed already rolled for you.
Or buy it from the government on the internet.
Yeah, there you go.
Which is the weirdest thing that's happened in the last couple of years, probably. I mean,
is that still how it works in BC? Because you're talking about BC, right?
Yeah, you can buy it on the government. So just like, and they ship it to you, and you got to show ID at the post office, I think, and that's about it. Like, prove that you're not 12 years old.
Well, yeah, it was funny because, back to another thing we talked about on the podcast was when they made weed legal in Canada, BC didn't have it set up where you could buy it from a storefront. So it was like the only place you could legally get it was mail order on the website. And it was funny because it was like you go to a government website and then you follow a couple links and then you're like, they actually had like Cheech and Chong bongs and there was everything. Like there was weed cookies, like I said, bongs, blunts, everything.
Yeah, it seems normal now, but back when it first became a thing, however, was that 2 years ago or whenever it was, it's like when you tell someone from 15 years ago that you bought weed off the internet from the government, and that's a pretty weird sentence.
Yeah, like back when we were like, I don't know, were you ever into weed?
Not really. I stick to beer mostly. And
I'm thinking like 20, 23, up to 25 years ago when I was like 16, I think I dabbled a bit. And back then to get weed, you had to be friends with the scary kid in your class. And then he knew a scarier adult. And then you would just go to that guy's house and he always had like snakes and fucking knives on the wall. And you're like, can I have some weed? And what went from like you just trying to like try weed, you're like, hanging in this scary adult's house for like 3 hours because it's like he's like, let me smoke it with you, and you're like, you want to smoke weed with kids?
That's problematic and strange when you think about it. But
and soup's illegal.
Yeah, that too. I was a super nerd in high school, so I didn't really end up in too many strange guys' basements buying weed. But
hey, you know what? It wasn't as cool as you think it was. Like the cool guys are like, hey, you want to be cool like me? Let's go to this scary person's house. And you're like,
It doesn't sound like I missed a lot there.
Yeah. But if I'm a nerd, I can stay home and watch science fiction movies and play video games and read comic books. And you're going to a stranger's house that's scary.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah. I think I'll be a social leper.
Yeah. I'm still kind of like that. I'd much rather stay home than go out, whether I'm going to a stranger's house or not.
Dude, this COVID thing was the best excuse ever. Like, I was just joking around with someone. It's like, because in Vancouver, the bars used to be like when they were in full swing, they'd be open till 4. So it was like one night, like 7 years ago when I first moved back to Vancouver, I was 33, which was already too old in my opinion for this, and I felt too old the next day. But we went out, and I was like, all right, it's 1:30, let's get our poutine and go to bed. And they're like, no, bars are open till 4. And I was like,
no thanks.
So it's like, I don't know, I was just like peer pressure, be like, all right, I guess we're doing the whole 4 o'clock thing. And then it's 4 o'clock, and you're like, hey, it's 3:30. Now can we get poutine and can we go home? Please. And they're like, oh, no. Now we're doing the best part. We're going to an after party club where they don't serve alcohol, and we're going to go there till it's light out, and it's going to ruin your life. And you're like,
yeah, that sounds terrible. I mean, by 4 o'clock in the morning, I've had like at least 5 or 6 hours sleep. Like, I do not want to be getting poutine at an after or going anywhere. I don't want to be alive. I don't want to be awake.
Yeah. I mean, I thought I was hungover from all the alcohol, but it was probably just eating poutine at 3 in the morning and then going directly to sleep.
That can't be good. I mean, it's delicious, but it can't be good for anybody.
Oh my God. Like all that sodium in your body. And it's funny because it's like, now that, how old are you? You're 39, 40?
39.
Yeah. Now that we're like because I'm 41, and it's like after 36-ish, it's like you eat too much salt and you're hungover. It's just like, it's funny because it's like, they kind of get you to understand your parents more. Because it's like now I'm 40, and when my dad was 40, I would have been 13. And I just think of myself as 13. And I was like, I'm surprised my dad didn't kill me and yell at me more.
Yeah.
Because like, I think of all the dumb, like, and it's like, it's funny because I think back and it's like, you can kind of remember most of what happened. And it's like, you do all this stuff just because you're a 13-year-old guy and you kind of don't think it all the way through. And it's like, you accidentally break something and then your dad's like, did you break this? And you're like, no. And then you're like, you think about someone at your work breaking something of yours and then just lying to you about it. Oh, I would have been a rage case.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
No, I think most people. Yeah, I can't imagine having to deal with that. I wouldn't want a 13-year-old kid running around this house.
Yeah, no doubt. What I was going to bring up when we're talking about movies did you see this Oscars diversity thing that they are going to do for 2025?
I saw a little bit of it, yeah. With a bunch of, you can't get an Oscar unless your movie follows a bunch of rules, or at least some of the rules or something. Yeah,
it's not an Oscar, it's the Picture of the Year. You don't get, like, because now I think the rule is you only get nominated for Picture of the Year if your movie's boring and stupid and there's no space in it. So
and The Rock isn't in it.
Yeah, exactly. So in the future, after 2025, because it's going to stay the same it is now, I don't know, they need like 4 more years.
They need
for this.
4 or 5 years to get this in motion. This big, like.
Well, I guess maybe because that's how long it takes, like after you've cast the movie and signed the contracts, then you film it, and then you do post-production, and then you do lead up or whatever. It probably takes about that long. I mean, I'll just trust the Hollywood minds that that's when they could. So in 2025, if your movie doesn't have, it's like you have to have like a diverse someone. A certain percentage of the cast of the movie has to be of a underrepresented diverse ethnicity. A certain percentage of female actors.
That's the scientific term for it.
Yeah, and then I think there's something about, but I think it's like of the people that have to be a certain percentage of your cast has to be this. It can also be disabled people or like people with like a visible disability or so basically if your movie doesn't have all this, then you don't get to be in the running for the best picture of the year. I mean, I respect it. It's good. Ultimately, to me, I don't care because it doesn't matter to me who's in my movies. Like, I'm not one of those assholes who's like, I need to see white people in this role. But I'm also at the same time, I'm not like, remember when that movie, the last time when they whitewash movies, I think the last one was, that I can remember everybody being upset about was Avatar: The Last Airbender. They cast all these white people in it, and it was based off an anime that had Asian characters. And so
I heard about that. Yeah.
People were all super upset, and I was like, I'm like, I don't know. I kind of felt guilty because it's like, ultimately, I don't care if the movie's good. So,
like, I mean, we're two white guys. We don't have that doesn't affect our life. We don't have we have the luxury of not having to give a shit about that stuff. I mean, we should, but it doesn't affect us really, because it's a. But I mean, it's good that they're doing that. I suppose.
Yeah. What I mean is even if it goes the other way, like if they're like you can only have 10% white actors in your movie, I'd be like, whatever. Yeah. As long as they're good actors, like I'm sure you're going to get people who can still act because there are enough actors out there.
There's no shortage of actors in Hollywood, even though it's the same 10 people on your TV all the time. But
yeah, exactly. Like
just put The Rock in every movie, and I don't care what you do with the rest of the cast.
Maybe The Rock will finally get in the best motion picture because he is. Is there a politically correct way to say Samoan? Can you still say Samoan?
I think so. I don't know these. But I mean, it'd be nice if that guy could catch a break.
Oh yeah!
Finally, after all these years, right?
Such a
toiling away on these independent movies.
Yeah, he only made enough money to buy the XFL, which I don't want to speak out of turn, but
you and me might have enough money to buy the X. We might have enough money to buy the XFL. We just didn't look into it.
Yeah, it was only $15 million.
Yeah, I guess when all your players are gone and your teams have all folded, it comes pretty cheap.
Like that's less than an AHL franchise, probably. But like to put your money into the XFL, like I guess when they were doing all the contract finagling and stuff, that was before COVID. So, I mean, maybe if the CFL folds like they were talking about it, because I think the government refused to give them money. Maybe we
they didn't give them their loan or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't think that. I'm sure the CFL will come back, but you never know. I guess it's It did seem like a weird purchase to buy the XFL when it just finished folding and all their teams and players left.
Yeah, it just finished folding and everything else for the second time.
Yes, that's right, for the second time.
Like it lasted this time 6 months?
It lasted. They got the full season in, I think. No, I guess they didn't because of COVID. So they got they got like a couple months in, I guess. So better than nothing.
But I guess if you look at it, would the league have failed if COVID never happened?
I think they probably would have got their season done at least. I don't know if it would have lasted to season 2, but either way,
sorry, go ahead.
Now the Rock's in charge, so it's bound to go on forever.
Yeah, he's gonna put all his Jumanji money into it. Oh man, could you imagine if each team was themed after the movies franchises he was in? Like there's a Fast and the Furious team,
the New York Skyscrapers.
Team. Ooh, what else has he been? Oh, Rampage team.
Oh yeah. They're not terrible names. There's been worse sports names than Skyscrapers and a Rampage. Jumanji is a bit I'm on the fence about, but
Yeah. But Jumanji has so many good animals in it that you could have as a mascot.
It's true.
Like, did you see the new Jumanji 2?
No. I don't think I've seen any. I've only seen I've only seen the original, that's it.
Bro. Okay. This is your homework, even though you don't have to do it or listen to me. But you don't have to watch the original Jumanji, but you have to watch Zathura, which was the unofficial sequel to Jumanji, and I think it had Dax Shepard in it, and it was a science fiction, like astronaut-themed Jumanji.
Jesus.
Then you have to watch the new Jumanji 1 and the new Jumanji 2. I'm going to predict you're not going to enjoy, like you'll still like Zathura, but you should watch it first because if you watch that after one of the new Jumanjis, you'll hate it. Because the new Jumanjis are actually really good.
Are they?
Yeah, because they got Kevin Hart and The Rock. Like,
Kevin Hart's in those too. I forgot about that.
They're like They're kind of like, they're super funny and they're super entertaining and they're not offensive at all. So
what more can you ask for?
yeah, exactly. Oh, well, the reason I was bringing it up is because in Jumanji 2, there's like, I think there's ostriches in it, and there's like a scene where they're driving in a dune buggy through the desert, and they're being chased by ostriches. And the only reason I bring this up is that would be a hilarious yet good logo for the Jumanji team in the XFL.
That you get an ostrich mascot on the sidelines where we're going back and forth.
Yeah, like an actual real ostrich that just runs around.
Like in college, I don't know if they still do it because it's animal rights and stuff. But they for years, and they probably still do it. Something like college teams have like live tigers and stuff, live bull, or they every team, every second college football team is called the Bulldogs, and they always have at least one bulldog on the sideline. Just get some fucking ostriches up and down. That'd be awesome.
Or like that, is it the Denver Colts who a guy runs up and down the side of the field on a horse?
The Indianapolis Colts, with the big white horse.
Yeah, get a guy to do that on an ostrich.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, or in the Vancouver Canadians, which is the low, I don't know what level of baseball they are. But they're
single A, or no, rookie ball. I don't know what they're, low minor leagues.
See, you think that explains it, but it doesn't. But anyways, so they have this thing called the sushi race where people are dressed up like different pieces of sushi,
right,
and then they run a race. But they could do this with ostriches.
That would be more
like
fun.
An ostrich race. Oh,
yeah. They did the same thing in Milwaukee with different sausages. It's like sausage mascots because it's like bratwurst and stuff.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
it's so much better than the sushi race
because they're taller, so they, you can, it's, your level, your center of gravity is different. You can fall over.
Yeah, and
tip over.
I don't want to sound insensitive to cultural foods, but I would rather have sausages and brats than sushi.
Agreed. Yeah, 100%.
But you can probably tell that I like sausages more than sushi.
That's a real hot take.
Yeah.
Between the two of us, that's a real hot take. That one of us likes, at least one of us, probably actually both of us, like sausages. Like real shocker.
Yeah, real shocker here. Spoiler alert: these guys like European meats better than Asian meats.
Yeah.
Could you imagine sushi made with brats? That would be so good.
I would eat that for sure.
Like, yeah, you take like some brat, you cut it up, and then you roll it up with like avocado and like horseradish and ginger in a roll. Ooh, that would be so good.
I'm gonna make that.
Yeah, they should sell those at the baseball park. Like it's like a hot dog, but it comes rolled in sushi instead of bread. Like I don't know if they still have them, but at the Calgary Saddle Dome where the Calgary Flames play, they had these things called pocket dogs. And the whole idea is instead of like a fold open bun, it's just a pocket and then they stick the wiener in. So they stick the wiener in this pocket.
Do that some more.
Yeah, and that's the novelty of it is it's just
easier to eat, I guess.
In a pocket, yeah, it is. It actually is easier to eat, but they could do that.
Or you could just get a corn dog because those are even better.
Oh my God! So Vancouver's actually getting like a corn dog street food, like a truck. This was before COVID, so I don't know, but they're gonna have like sushi fusion corn dogs, which does not sound good to me, but it's better. But anyways, I guess it's exactly what I was just talking about.
Sort of, yeah, but probably deep fried in some fashion, which I'm on board with as well. Again, shocker.
Yeah, but one of the things, but they're doing it all wrong. Like they're not doing like wiener, cheese, rice, and good stuff. They're going the other way where it's like a wiener, rice, and then squid ink. And you're like,
oh yeah, nah. You gotta wrap it in like corn dog batter and dump it in a deep fryer for me to be interested in that.
Yeah, and I made an allegiance with milk as the only animal body fluid I will ingest, and I'm not going to give that up for squid ink.
I had squid ink it was like a squid ink like a aioli somewhere once. I think it was in Vegas, and it just tasted like it was fun. I didn't know what it was. It looks gross because it's just like you're dipping your French fries in like black sauce, like black mayonnaise essentially. Yeah. It just tasted, it was good, but it just tasted like really, really salty, like the world's saltiest mayonnaise, and then if you took that, like it was fine, but it wasn't. Yeah, it's not appetizing to look at.
Yeah.
It's literally just it's black ink, and it's fine, but it's just not for me.
Yeah, I guess.
It's super salty.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you would save that, like having squid ink and rice. Maybe you don't save it.
No, maybe you just
let it go.
Just make your own and dip it in corn dog batter or put it in that Saddle Dome bun and eat your hot dog like a normal person. You don't have to reinvent the wheel here. It's still a hot dog.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I guess so. What we usually do is we talk about everything, and then anything we don't get to, we do in a rapid fire. But this week, we're almost through everything.
Wow.
No, we got a couple. Let's do Halloween Not Canceled.
Oh, yeah.
BC, at least. It's funny because it's like, I don't know. I try not to make this like too regional of a podcast by talking about stuff that only happens in BC or Vancouver. But I guess I just get a lot more news for BC because Google's AI only wants to send me news about stuff where I am.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny the way that works, right? Because it's like we thought that the internet would open us up to all the information from around the world. But then you go to now where Google's AI tracks where you go all the time. So you only see stuff that's pertinent to your local area.
Yeah, so instead of getting a little bit of information about from a lot of places, you just get every possible bit of information you ever didn't want from your own neighborhood block.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like I'll look up Google News and it keeps sending me all this like dumb shit that happens in Burnaby. And it's like, I don't get, no offense, I don't get the Burnaby Now, not because I hate it as a newspaper, but because I'm not interested in city-specific news.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So anyways, the whole reason I was talking about that was BC, Dr. Bonnie Henry, who is the chief medical officer for the province, said that, wait, did she say, oh my God. I just blanked on if it's canceled or not. Oh, Halloween.
No, it's not. She said it. We can still do
canceled.
it.
Yeah.
It's not canceled.
And the reason I couldn't think of that was us because it's like, obviously, that's the one thing you're going to cancel. It's a no-brainer. Like, hey, we've spent all this time closing down all these shops and doing all this stuff. Like BC's one of the most hyper-intensive lockdowns in the country. And now you're just going to be like, hey, grab a sack and just go get the hand germs of
go reach your hand into a bunch of candy, buckets of candy, kids.
Yeah.
No, but if you did want to cancel Halloween, how would you go about doing that? There's there's millions of people in BC and in the Lower Mainland. It's like they just if your neighborhood just are you going to go door to door and make sure nobody's handing out candy? Like how you can't enforce that. It's like trying to cancel Christmas. Like it can't be done. Like I'm sure there's going to be a lot fewer people actually handing out candy this year, or maybe going around with their kids. But you can't cancel something like that because you can try, but it's not going to work.
Yeah, I think it'll end up being like, because they're always like, it'll be like all the other stuff in BC where they're saying they're doing stuff and then they just won't enforce it and they'll just expect people to fall in line.
Follow the rules.
Like the masks and all the stuff. It like for, as an example, Starbucks, they're like all Canadian stores in Canada, I don't know why I said that so awkwardly, you need to wear a face mask, otherwise you can't go into Starbucks. And then 2 days later you go to Starbucks and nobody's wearing a mask. And like I don't even fault the baristas who aren't enforcing it, because it's like you still have to make all the coffee, you still have to do all the regular work you do. You don't want to have to go tell idiots that they have to wear a mask. Be like, oh, can you please wear a mask here?
You're making like minimum wage. You don't have to deal with it. I mean, most people are pretty good about it. I've only seen two like moderate freakouts, I call them. One person and they weren't even that bad. Like people that didn't want to use the hand sanitizer when they walk into a store or whatever. But the Starbucks near my office, I usually wear a mask, but if I was running the Starbucks down the street, I've went in there without a mask a couple of times just because I'm in and out in 5 seconds, and usually I just forget my mask at my desk. And I've never once I don't go there that often, but they've never once like refused service and told me to get out.
Mm-hmm.
But
the only place,
nobody wants to deal with that.
The only place that's like refused me was Walmart. Like
Oh yeah, they have the
at the beginning of September they went mask mandatory, but they have at least here in Burnaby they have a security guard at the front door. They got rid of the greeter and now it's a security guard.
Oh yeah,
Shows where we are as a society, guys. But I went to go in and then he's like, "You don't have a mask." I was like, "Oh, I forgot." And then I went to a different store. Yeah. But that's the only time I've had it enforced with me, like even Whole Foods. Not this time because now it's mandatory again. But when the first time I went around, it was mandatory, and you'd go in there, and they had masks waiting for you at the door, and they're like, "Masks are mandatory. Do you want one?" And like the guy in front of me is like, "No," and he just walked in without a mask, and I'm like, "All right,
who's going to stop him, right? Like somebody should, but you're not going to, the person stocking shelves isn't going to have a confrontation with some jackass who won't wear a mask. Like that's not what they're getting paid for. That's beyond their pay grade for sure.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like the States where people are getting into fist fights because they're not wearing masks and stuff. But I guess
those are so entertaining if they weren't so damn sad and like just pathetic.
Yeah, I think that's also just like a good example of Canadians versus Americans. Like Americans, they have a rule, and then everybody else is like, "No, you have to follow this rule because it's a rule to save us all." Whereas Canadians are like, "Here's a rule," and then some people are like, whatever, just leave him alone, stay away from him. Like
But same thing here. Most people that's fine. Most people here will follow the rules. I mean, I'm sure majority in the States are doing the same. But then you get those people that end up on viral YouTube videos where some guy ranting and raving about his civil liberties being, basically, his rights are being, screwed by being forced to wear a mask or whatever it is, and that I don't know those videos are funny for about 2 seconds, and then you realize how pathetic some people are and how some guy with his family, his like teenage son has to carry him out of the grocery store. Like that's just an embarrassing moment for everyone.
Yeah, that was nuts. Where you like anytime your son has to pick you up and take you out
and carry you over his shoulder.
Yeah,
that was like that poor kid. I mean, that kid's got can you imagine what that guy? Because that's his dad. He's regardless of whether that goes viral or not, that's still a thing. Even if only 200 people saw it, that's still a thing in your life that you had to deal with.
Yeah.
And you had to go the rest of your life knowing that you had to carry your crybaby freaking out dad out of a store because he was ranting and raving at like a cashier for a mask. Like just that's gotta mess you up a little bit.
Yeah, and like even if he's like your dad's like, "Oh, do this. These are my rules." You're like, "Yeah, you're a fucking disaster. I'm not listening to you. I'm not listening to your rules or whatever."
We don't have to follow the rules apparently.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I can't remember what else I was going to say. Yeah, so handing out candy to kids, probably the worst thing to do during COVID.
I would think. Did you see some of the solutions? I don't know where I saw this, but one of the solutions I saw suggested for if you're going to hand out candy was like the people are wearing their masks and their rubber gloves and stuff, but the one I saw somebody had a big tube that's like 8 feet long or 6 feet long or whatever, and the kids come to the front door trick-or-treating. And the people that are handing out candy, they just put the candy in a tube, and it goes down the driveway to the waiting kids, and then they get it and leave. Like, if that's what you have to do to hand out candy, maybe just go to the store, buy your kid a pack of fun-sized Snickers, and just keep them at home.
Yeah.
Rather than come up with like a pneumatic tube device so you can hand out candy to strangers.
Yeah. Another thing too, wouldn't it matter if the person handing out the candy touched all the candy, or is that one of the things?
I think they were in this ridiculous like premise. I think they were wearing gloves, so and they're still. It was just a way to keep your 2 meters distance or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense. Why would anybody do that?
It was a big plastic tube, and it looked ridiculous, and I loved it.
Okay, I've got a better solution. You take, those, like, I guess they're called like Kisses, and they're like that diarrhea brown, like toffee molasses candy, which I think they're delicious. Other people don't. I understand that. So you make a potato gun out of PVC hose, and you fill that full of Kisses, and then you just
blast them down the street.
Okay, but I just want to say this. Don't blast them in a way to hurt anybody. You just blast it straight in the air. So it's just raining candy.
I could get on board with that. I mean,
and then the heat from the explosion in your potato gun would kill all the virus.
Yeah. I don't see any problem. There's no problems with this at all.
Yeah.
Once again, you solved something that didn't need solving, but good for you.
Yeah. Or like our previous solution to every problem, just get The Rock to hand it out.
Yeah, there you go.
Actually, The Rock got COVID, so we can't do that.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Well, that's a weird thing, right? Like, so Tom Hanks and The Rock, two of the people arguably anybody would want their lives, both get COVID. It's like, how are you going to sell movies based on me wanting your life when you got like the gross disease and now you had to get over it?
I guess you just have to suspend your disbelief. Just like so many people, I mean, people are suspending their disbelief that it exists at all. So why not just join the party?
This is what I want. I want to have that brain where you can deny, where you have like enough dumbness to believe that there is no coronavirus, but I don't want to not believe the coronavirus is there. I just want to not believe in any of my problems.
Oh,
I want my life to be like just perfect and nice.
Just don't leave your apartment then, I guess, and don't read the, don't just be completely uninformed.
I mean, I'm working pretty hard at being uninformed.
Well, you and me both.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, other than this podcast, I don't really try to find stuff out.
No, there was this story. It was some guy, he lives in the States someplace in a rural area. Yeah. And he, after the first few months anyways of Trump being president, and I don't even know, he wasn't doing it for political reasons, but like the world was going to hell, and the States especially, like just so much bad news and just stuff it was stressing him out. He didn't want to deal with that, he wasn't, he canceled all social media. He got as offline as he could, but he wanted to live. I don't remember if it was for the rest of his life or for a year or whatever. There was a timeline involved. He's like, I don't want to know anything about the outside world. I just want to farm my little, he like grew his own vegetables or something. He just wants to hang out at his house, go in for get his groceries, get a coffee. And he had everyone in his life. He's like, don't tell me about current events. I want to be as uninformed and live in the bubble, like just this big bubble of ignorance. And he did it like successfully for like the year or more, because I guess it was probably going on a few years now. Everyone in his life knew not to mention stuff to him, even if it was important stuff. He just didn't want to. Right now, he probably doesn't know that COVID is a problem. Oh. And he honestly, he doesn't. Nobody. I think he gets his groceries or whatever delivered to him, or he lives in some really small town. I read it. It was like Washington. It was some relatively big news organization wrote about him. Mm-hmm. And he has, he goes to his little coffee shop, and the 2 or 3 people that work there know not to, mention stuff to him because he's been there and he's a regular. Mm-hmm. And so that's how he just lives his life completely oblivious. Like, I can't even imagine what that must be like these days, anytime, but especially this year or the last couple. Mm-hmm. But he's managed to somehow live completely off the grid in more ways than one.
That would almost be amazing, except for I really like entertainment. Like, how are you gonna know the next hot shit show on, say, Netflix?
Yeah, he must live a very boring life.
Oh my God, yeah. Like, there's no way he's watched the first and half of the second season of The Boys.
No, exactly. But I mean, it's impressive that he managed to do it successfully. Whether he should have is a whole other thing. I mean, he probably. It sounds horrible. It's a horrible. Even though there's a lot of bad shit going on, like that's still a bad way to live your life. But he gets points for successfully doing it. Because if that was me, I'm like, I'm gonna live in a bubble. Don't tell me about anything. I would last 6 minutes before I absentmindedly started scrolling through Twitter because I was bored.
Oh, exactly. Like I was just gonna say, like you'd be on your phone before you even know it, and
I would do it by accident.
News articles, yeah. And it's like, I don't know, like as much as I say I don't want to be informed, I'm actually kind of a news junkie, so I always want to see like the news stories and stuff. So it would be impossible. And then, like I said before, like not knowing the new shows and stuff. Like this guy probably doesn't watch TV, which
he probably just has like
I'm out.
He probably just has a big stack of old VHS tapes from the 80s. He's like, and that's what he's watching seasons 1 through 4 of like Perfect Strangers, and that's probably it. Like, I don't know what else you could watch. I mean, I guess there's enough of a backlog of entertainment. You could just like live in the past completely. But like, holy crap, that'd be rough.
That would be okay. You just gave me an idea. So at the beginning of this episode, we mentioned that we were both into fantasy, or we both had a fantasy football.
Yeah.
Imagine if getting last place in fantasy football, you had to, not for like 6 months or a year or whatever this guy did, but you had to live in an apartment. You weren't allowed any contact with the outside world, and your only entertainment was VHS copies of Perfect Strangers.
That would be worse than some of these fantasy football leagues I've heard about or seen online where like the loser guy who comes in dead last has to get a tattoo of the winner's choosing.
Oh, that would be rough.
I think I'd rather do that than have to be like off the grid for a year or any length of time watching old VHS days, but it'd be close. Yeah, I could probably do the VHS thing. I just wouldn't want to, but one guy got like he got a tattoo of like a unicorn shooting a rainbow out of its ass or something, and it had some.
Wait, how is that bad?
Well, maybe you want to get that anyways. I'm just giving you an idea.
Tattoo tomorrow.
And it had, I don't remember, and it had whatever like the stupid online like catchphrase of the day was at the time. God. Like, and it said that underneath it, like something that one of those things that goes viral for 15 minutes 7 years ago kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty awful.
Yeah, I think that goes next. The second most awful tattoo I saw was a guy had the Super Bowl trophy with a giant. Who did Tom Brady used to play for? The Giants or the Jets?
The Patriots.
The Patriots. Yeah, he had this big Super Bowl trophy like this big on his calf, and then the Patriots logo in front of it, and then underneath all the dates that they won. And this is in Burnaby. This isn't even in the States.
It's not even if Tom Brady had that tattoo, you'd kind of go, maybe you should have got that, Tom. But some random guy in Burnaby, no. That's my favorite. Is you always see these idiots on online. They post them. It's like before the game is finished, they're so confident that their team's going to win. They get a big Super Bowl champion.
Oh my God!
Whatever team thing, and they never pan out. There's at least in this, I guess, of all the NFL fans like in the world, there's at least 50 of them that have like, unless they've got them removed or altered or covered up, Super Bowl champions, whoever, and the team never won.
Oh my God! Could you imagine if you were on the team and you saw that? You'd like sue that guy for jinxing the whole thing.
Yeah,
and it's like saying shutout when a guy's or a no hitter.
Like when they, they always make the hats for both teams and then so they can wear they take the losing team's hats and they ship them to like some poor countries for underprivileged kids to wear. They don't but you've got that tattoo on you forever. So or until you get it covered up with something else, just as stupid.
Yeah, you can't ship that tattoo to a poor country for some underage privileged kid to get.
You can't scrape it off and put it on a kid in Somalia. He doesn't want it.
Yeah, not even he wants that tattoo.
No. I mean, he'll take the hat, but that's it.
Okay, so now that we're over an hour, so we'll start wrapping this up. But so what we'll do is do a little rapid fire where we just basically talk about the stuff I researched and we didn't get to because I don't want to waste the research I did.
Lightning round?
Yeah, lightning round. I think half the time I call it rapid fire and the other half I call it lightning round. So
lightning fire, there we go.
Lightning fire. There you go. So Gavin Newsom, is his name Gavin? Or Governor Newsom.
The California politician, yeah.
So if you've looked outside today or lately, you've noticed there's a lot of smoke, and that's because there's a lot of wildfires in Washington, Oregon, and California. And one of the reasons there's like the worst fires that have ever been burning in California right now is they didn't have the prison inmates to fight the fires because they let them go during COVID. So like this whole idea is super sketchy. Like they get minimum security prisoners to fight the fires and they pay them $1 an hour.
Yeah.
But the way it used to work, once you were not in prison anymore, you couldn't even go back to be a professional firefighter. But this is the bill that yesterday or the day before Newsom signed so that these people who the firefighters trained when they were inmates could go back and fight the fires when they weren't inmates anymore. Like, it's a real good idea now.
It sets them up for a job if they want to do it. And they've probably already fought more real fires than some actual firemen who depending on where you live, maybe you haven't had to fight many fires before,
Yeah.
but,
And it's like, why would you spend all these resources training these guys and then not letting them fight fires afterwards?
yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. I'm surprised that it was even a problem, but I did like the reaction when I saw, like, because you told me about that and I looked it up, and it, of course, people turn it into a political issue.
Oh, yeah.
Half the people said that they basically said that forcing them to fight fires, I think somebody called it, like, it was an indentured servitude. It's like, no, they're not forced to become firefighters. They can do it if they want.
Yeah.
And then the other people were pissed off about something else. I don't know. It just
taking jobs away from someone else, probably.
I had no idea. It was just, people get they find any reason to be pissed about stuff, but I don't know. I mean, if you want to go into any kind of burning building or burning forest, I don't care whether you're a prisoner, a non-prisoner, an ex-prisoner.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. So you can go do what you more power to you, pal. Like, go fight as many fires as you want.
I mean, I take umbrage with paying them $1 an hour, but
yeah, that's pretty horrible. But I mean, they're prisoners. People take advantage of them.
So they get like their sentences reduced, or like there's this, like, the article I was reading, it was like super weird political or like lawyer talk where they're saying that if you work a certain amount on these forest fires, you could change your plea from guilty to not guilty. And I'm not super.
Is it like a video game? You got to level up to not guilty by fighting fires. Like,
it's like if you were convicted of a crime that you committed, you pled guilty to, so you could get like a plea deal to get less time, and now you can go back and say you weren't guilty. I don't know.
And I think
it's
the one thing that
weird,
like they're not letting like violent criminals become like, they're not putting like mass murderers are not out there fighting fires, like, because they would just you can't keep it. Maybe they disappear. You don't want that, but these are guys like it's like an entire fire department of like guys who committed insurance fraud or something. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Fill your boots, fight as many fires as you want.
Yeah,
it's probably make more than $1, but whatever.
Yeah, that's funny because the list was like, the list of people who can't do it is like, you can't do it if you murderer or had a death sentence for any reason, most felonies, no rapists, no like kid touchers in any way, and then arsonists. And I'm like, well, I guess you don't want arsonists out there, but on the
you don't want them taking notes.
Yeah, on the other hand, it's like, who wouldn't, I guess they wouldn't actually fight. They'd be like, yeah, I'm fighting this fire, and then they just like look at it with crazy
He's got his hose kinked.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know, it's just not going out. I'm spraying all this water on it.
So weird.
Yeah, so like that's a good thing, but I think it's kind of like you should have maybe thought of this before,
like forever ago.
Like, yeah, forever ago. Two, when you let all these inmates go for COVID with forest fire season coming up, and maybe before when the fire was first starting and not like turned into the worst forest fire in California's history.
Yeah, and maybe pay them more than $1. I'm just going to throw that out there too.
Yeah,
that seems low, just a little. I know they're prisoners, but it still seems low.
Yeah, exactly. Like, pay them way more than that. I mean, you don't have to get crazy and give them that like $15 minimum wage an hour, but like these guys are busting their hump. They're doing work that I'm not willing. Anytime someone does something I'm not willing to do myself, they should make more money.
They absolutely should.
Yeah.
It's like, people are like, oh, we want all, in the States too, it's like they want all the immigrants to, they wanted to send all the illegals back to, the South America, Mexico, or wherever it is. It's like, well, no, I don't want to do any of the jobs they have, and you don't either. Because a lot of them do really shitty jobs that suck. I mean, they're happy to have them, I guess, because they're in the, but like, nobody wants those jobs. Nobody's going to go, nobody's going to pick fruit in a 6,000 acre orchard in the scorching heat in California. It's just not going to happen.
Oh, it's funny. I read an article or something that in, I think it was the 90s, that they, like back when like they took our jobs thing was like at its peak, they did it, not like an experiment, but the government in one state, they got rid of all the temporary foreign workers and they gave all the jobs to like college and high school kids and like gave them like good wages and stuff. But within like 2 weeks, everyone quit.
Yes,
we're not doing this. This work is hard. We don't want to work hard.
Yeah, that's the lesson there. Is hard work is hard, and nobody wants to do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that whole they took our jobs. Nobody says they took the jobs we didn't want, and they're willing to work harder than we are.
Yeah, exactly. Take more of the jobs, because
Yeah.
A lot of them suck.
Yeah. Any job that I don't want, you're welcome to it.
Exactly. And fighting fires is pretty high on that list.
Yeah. And then the last thing on the lightning fire round is a couple episodes ago, I talked about, or I can't remember who was on, but with me, but we talked about the Sturgis biker stomp in Sturgis, South Dakota, and how I think it ended up being 400,000 people showed up, and a company went through and they tracked all the cell phone data of all the people there. Of course, it was anonymously, they say.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I love these, like, they did this too at the beginning of COVID with, like, the beaches in
I saw that. The beaches
Miami.
in Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, look at all these cell phones we're tracking. And you're like, that's interesting, but also terrifying.
Very terrifying.
So,
like, I don't think all those people voluntarily tick the box on their, FIDO contract to allow the tracking to be, or allow them to be tracked.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, you fast forward to now, and I do have to disclaim that this isn't an actual stat. This is a theorized proximity, but they're guessing that 260,000 COVID cases came from just the Sturgis.
Yeah, that's a big number, and just goes to show you that people are very stupid. Like, even, I mean, at the best of times, non-COVID, I don't want to go to a biker rally where there's 400,000 people, or any kind of rally where there's 400,000 people. That sounds horrifying to me.
But don't you want to go see Smash Mouth play in concert?
Well, I mean, you make exceptions for the big stuff, obviously. Smash Mouth, motorcycle rallies with a bunch of old dudes in vests. Like, you got to do it. But, like, those people, like, if you went to that and you got COVID, I mean, I don't want anyone to die, but I don't know if anyone, I mean, I wouldn't be that upset, but if you went to that and you got sick, good. Like, honestly, that's your own damn fault. Like, I don't have any sympathy for you. I hope you didn't spread it to your grandparents or anybody who was, like, in danger or whatever, but, like, I don't care about, I don't care if you got sick for 2 weeks. I don't care if you almost died. Like, you suck. You deserve what you get in some respects.
Yeah, like, it's like, I feel like if you're going to be a boner about it and you're going to get this bullshit, like, shitty disease that you could have completely avoided, then it's your own fault. But my whole thing is, like, at some point, society, it's like, if enough happens and we go back into lockdown, I will be enraged. Because I don't want them to start closing shit again. I don't even think the economy could handle it.
No, and they're already closing some stuff here, right, after this last 2 months of things getting worse. But, like, the fact that event was even allowed to happen shows you how messed up governments and people in charge are, that they would even let it be a thing.
Oh, they asked because I think Sturgis is the city in South Dakota. They asked, like, the person in charge, the woman in charge of South Dakota, who would have been able to say if this goes or not. She was like, yeah, we would totally want it to go forward because of the city and the surrounding area makes like $500 million from it.
It's probably the only thing that I have in that count. I've never heard of it before, but it's outside. Well, that's great, but look what happened.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess we'll see if that actually. Well, I guess also too, like, the bikers aren't really the type of people to be like, oh, hey, I got COVID from this thing I was at. They're more like the type to, like, suffer in silence.
Yeah, probably.
So there'll be no way to track how many people actually got this, and I hope that this approximation was just totally unfounded and totally ridiculously high. I hope it's
like a worst case scenario kind of thing.
Yeah, beyond worst case scenario. That's what I hope.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just how things go. Because, like I said, people are very dumb.
People are dumb. That's the through line of every bad thing that happens that we talk about. Pretty much. Yeah. That's about it. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about, Nick?
No, I think we covered everything on the list. I got to make fun of a lot of people, so and we came up with some good movie, and we got some good movie ideas.
Oh yeah.
Somebody has to call. I mean, we have to send The Rock an Instagram DM now with these ideas, but he seems pretty available. He's out there. Oh.
Yeah, I think he's open to just random dudes texting him and giving him messages.
Yeah, 100%. If he didn't want that, he shouldn't be on social media.
Yeah, and I'm going to go now and try Google a picture of Chris Evans' penis because I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, don't send that to me if you find it.
Okay. Till next time, everybody, stay angry.